Hi, it's MJ Callaway, and I am here in my tiny bounce up studio. And today we have a special guest. I am thrilled to introduce you to her and also talk about the project that she initiated. So, welcome, Kelli Komondor, to our studio today.
Hi, MJ. Thank you so much for having me on. I don't know what I'm more excited about, sitting and talking with you or the book project.
I'm always thrilled to talk to you. And for our audience members, what I'd like to say is Kelli and I have known each other for quite some time. Kelli is what I call a force of nature when it comes to networking. She is a great connector. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but let me give you a little bit of background about Kelli. Kelli is a content writer, and she works with a number of organizations to produce content for them. She's also a marketer, big time marketer, and she's a soon to be published author. Kelli is the creator and the project manager behind the project we will be talking about today. And that project is called 21. But think of it as WON instead of the number one. So 21, because it will have 21 contributors, and the book is coming out this year in 21. So, Kelli, please share with us, how did you ever come up with the idea not only to have 21 contributors, but have the book come out in 21 and name it 20 WON?
Lots of 21s there for sure. A very long story short, we were supposed to take a trip and spend Thanksgiving in South Carolina with my husband's niece and her wife and their brand new baby boy who was born last April, April of 20, and to meet him for the first time. And of course, with COVID and travel restrictions and everything that was going on in October and November, we determined that we needed to cancel that trip. So that was really disheartening, really upsetting. We were so looking forward to getting away and to spending time with family that we typically wouldn't spend time with over Thanksgiving. So, and I typically host Thanksgiving dinner and have a big Christmas Eve dinner with my mom's side of the family. It's a big Italian feast, and I have some friends that come over and spend it with us. And I knew that wasn't going to happen either. So the night before Thanksgiving, I was really feeling sorry for myself and, just really down. And I was upset that my own kids weren't even coming over to have dinner with us, or my mom, or my sister and her family. And I thought, you know what, this is really yucky. It's really bad. And people have it much worse than I do. There's people who have lost their jobs and can't find a job. There are people who are standing in line at food banks because they can't feed their family right now. I knew people who had COVID and were very sick from it. And I actually knew a few people who passed away due to complications. And I thought, this is all terrible stuff and it's awful, but so many good things happened to me on a professional level, sent from between March and November. And I knew a lot of other women who I was connected to that had great things happen to them as well. So I thought, you know what, we're heading into 21. And if I can find 20 other women willing to share their stories with us, it can be a book about, promise for the new year and how these women pivoted and persevered and just made it work. And I thought, you know what, we're winning. And that's where the one spelled WON came from.
That's awesome. And I love the way that you took a situation because you were not in a good place and you flipped it to find something positive out of it, even though it was not a good time for most people. But I love how you flipped it. Now, with that, Kelli, what was the defining moment? What was that moment that you knew you had to do something different?
So I left a stable, well-paying job in late January, early February, because I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. I had a really successful 2019. I ended up in the top tier in a few different categories within the organization, but it just wasn't something I wanted to do any longer. So I took another position that I started the first week of February. And then in March, I was laid off. The weekend right after COVID, March 16th, which ironically is my daughter's birthday. So, I came home, I applied for unemployment, and I thought, this is only going to be a couple weeks. I'll be back to work in no time. And it went on till May. And when I got called back in May, I asked if I could sleep on it. And I did. And when I woke up the next morning, I thought, you know what? I'm not going back. I'm going to start my own business. I love to write. And I know I have skill and talent in that area. And I can help people with my writing, and I can start my own firm. And by June, I was, legal LLC up and running, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. Because you had self-efficacy there. You believed that you were able to do it. So what was it that you had in your background that gave you that belief that you could write, you could produce? Because you're producing content for both nonprofit organizations and corporate organizations.
Yeah, it's funny because I worked in the industry of newspaper industry whenever I worked for the Pittsburgh Business Times, which is when I met you, for 11 years. And I was not a reporter. So I wasn't a writer. I was in the circulation department, audience development. So I had to produce things to go out. I had to produce, email blasts and odds and ends like that. But it really wasn't built on experience. It was built on my love for writing. I can't tell you how many times friends or family were like, hey, I need to send an email, or I need to write something. Will you write this for me? I'll tell you what I want to say, and you can take notes and then change it up and make it sound good. When I was younger, I had notebooks upon notebooks of started stories that I never finished, novels. I say teen angst poetry. I had a friend that we would write poems all the time, and we just had, college ruled notebooks just full of stuff that we wrote, and I can really kick myself for not saving any of it. It's in a landfill somewhere. It is skill and experience, but mostly it's because I love the writing process.
So there's something interesting, though, of what you did recently when it comes to writing. A colleague or friend asked you if you could write some type of a commercial for him or her. I believe I heard something about that.
Yeah. I had an old contact from back in my networking days many, many years ago who I've kept in touch with. And he found out what I was doing, that I started my own business. And he called me up and said, hey, I'm going to do some radio commercials. I have no idea what to say. Would you be willing to write the series of commercials for me? It was over the holiday season. He has a promotional company. And so I did. So I wrote him 3 series of commercials, and he loved them. So that was something very different. It's kind of nice to be able to say, it wasn't something that was printed or online. It was, something that was verbally read across the radio waves,
Which is awesome. And then that goes back to, one, you being a force when it comes to networking connections, because this is someone that you met years ago. You were still connected. And then it led to a current project for you to do for him in your brand new business.
Yeah.
So how awesome is that? High five to you for that one.
Thank you.
So with your defining moment, what was the action that you had taken? You said, you had the LLC. What was the big turning point, the action you had taken to get that business up and going?
It took a lot of research because I had never started a business before, and I wanted to make sure that everything was on the up and straight and narrow, and everything was legal. So I just did some research to make sure the name that I chose wasn't taken. And K2 Creative is, it's a combination of my initials are KK for Kelli Komondor. And the short form of K2 Creative is K2C. And my children are Kayla and Cameron. So it kind of represented their initials as well. So it worked out really well. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself to just content or just marketing. So I threw the creative in there because that kind of encompasses all of that. But I did a lot of research, made sure that everything was done legally. And I actually went back and pulled out some publications that I had from my years of networking and taking classes. And one of them was yours. It was your book that we did for our training course whenever we all met and did, what was it, 6 weeks, I think, of training?
We did. We did.
Yeah. And I had a book by Melanie Calusi that I had pulled out and read from that. And I pulled out a book called Empower that Renee DiMache-Farrow was a part of. And it was just empowering stories of women. And as a side note, that is also another reason that the anthology was born, was because Renee and I were talking, and she was telling me, what do you want to do? Like, what's the end game? And I said that I want to write a book. And she said, you should start out small, throw together an anthology like part of what I was in. And, this way you're responsible for a chapter, not the whole book. And you get to know the whole process. You get to understand what it means and how you go about publishing a book. And, that's where I found Corey Walmsley, was through the Pittsburgh Women's Mastermind Group. And she is a writing coach and an editor, and her and I just hit it off immediately, and the rest is history. So I know I kind of veered off from K2 Creative and went to the book, but I'm just so darn excited about it. I just can't stop talking about it.
It's okay. I love your energy. It's coming through, and our listeners will love it. So it's awesome. It's all good. So what is one strategy or action that you had taken that made the difference for you?
I think it is a many, many year strategy of networking, like you said, because I have not paid a dime to advertise my business. I haven't done anything that has cost me anything or any undue stress, or it's just knowing people. It's keeping those connections. It's making sure that I've always treated people kindly. And I've always been interested in what people do. You don't go to a networking event just to see how many business cards you can collect rather. You want to make sure that you're connecting with these people. You understand what they do, what they're looking for. And then to say, oh, you know what? I actually know somebody who does that. Let me connect you. I'll send an email tomorrow. And then you follow through and you actually do it.
Yes.
So I think that the game changer for me was having such a strong network of people who I trusted and who trusted me, who were willing to make referrals and who were willing to use me for my services.
Which is awesome. And again, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. It is that is your gift. Not only is it something is authentic to you, it's a gift that you have, one that you could really use to teach others about too. So how can our viewers, the people that are listening, how can they apply what you do to their own business or their own life?
Do you mean the networking part or the content and copywriting?
Either one, whichever one you would like to answer.
Well, I can tell you that I have found a lot of value in the Udemy courses, udemy.com. They have a lot of sales on their courses. Sometimes they're, $100 or $200. And I found really good courses through there for like $11.99. And they come with, marketing materials and downloads and things that you can, keep and refer back to. I would definitely suggest investigating what's on Udemy. I would definitely suggest taking any kind of marketing or writing course that you can that's in person. The course that we did, was it 2016, I think, was our course that we put together and had a group of individuals taking that marketing course. That was life-changing for me. I told you I had that purple folder and your book, and I kept it with me all the time, and I referred back to it really often. I did a marketing masterclass through From Startup to Success in 2019, I want to say, and I still have all the notes and the books from there too. So I think it's learning. It's never, don't ever stop learning new things, and, make sure that you save all of your class materials and all the books that you collect that are, wrapped around whatever you're doing, and refer back to it often.
Because we never know when we can use it again. We get to a different point in business, and maybe we're changing our brands, or maybe we're changing our message. So to have that material to go back to. Yeah. And the classic Kelli is talking about it was called Sales Success Roadmap. And it was a 6-week course on sales and messaging. So the one that she keeps referring to. Yeah. Now, Kelli, how did you set yourself up in 2020 for success in 2021?
Well, it was, not possible to do any in-person networking, and it wasn't possible to, promote myself in person, which is the key to what I do. I love going to networking events. I love meeting new people and, connecting people. So a lot of it had to do with, what I just spoke about was connecting and reconnecting with successful businesswomen who I knew had been down this road, and not that it was any easier, but they may have had more resources than I did, because maybe they were able to go to networking events, or be able to get face to face with people. So I think that and just knowing that I had to make it work. We were losing an entire salary whenever I left the job that I had, and then got laid off from the other job and decided not to go back. And my husband's so supportive, and he knew how much this meant to me. And it was, what, this is what you're going to do. Go for it. We're empty nesters. So for me to be working evenings and weekends and marketing the company, whether it's through social media or email blasts or however I chose to do it at that time, I have that freedom because the kids don't live here any longer, and unfortunately don't visit very often because we have to be outside or with a mask on. So I have the freedom to do it. And I can say one thing, that I don't know how a lot of these parents and a lot of these moms are doing it with virtual learning, running a business. And you're all going to meet a couple ladies in the book who have kids at home doing virtual learning, and they're still running their businesses, and they're still kicking butt and taking names. And it's really encouraging to see all the different hats that women wear in a day.
Definitely. So Kelli, how can someone reach out to you or get a hold of you? How can someone connect with you?
Absolutely. KelliKomondor.com, and it's KELLI Komondor.com. And that has all the information about the 21 book. I have a whole tab on there that lists all of the authors. I have their websites. I have their bios connected to there. And then I also have K2CreativeLLC.com, which is my company webpage.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. This wraps up our issue for today, our episode for today. And I want to thank you, Kelli, so much for sharing so much with our audience today, and for initiating this project that will bring so much information to others.
Thank you, MJ. This means the world to me. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. All right, this is MJ Callaway signing out, but be sure to stay tuned for our next episode with our next contributor for the 21 Project.